Hey, what's going on everyone? This is Cerulean, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down my latest single called Cerulean. So I'm doing this breakdown series recently just to give all of you guys a little bit more insight into, the behind the scenes of how these tracks come together. Alright, so first off the bat, this project is super messy. I'm not usually this rogue with the way I do my setups, but I was bouncing stems in like a different way than I usually do, and the project just got messy. The song's out now and finished, so I don't really give a fuck, but let's go through everything. So I'm going to play the entire song all the way through so you guys can get you guys can hear what it sounds like. Alright, sweet. So now you guys have a little bit of an idea on what we're going over. I'm going to try and break down just some of the key parts. I'm obviously not going to go through every nook and cranny of the project. I think that'd be counterintuitive. But I'm just going to show you what I've done across the entire process. So I'm going to start off with the vocals here. The vocals have been done in an interesting way. So what I did for the vocals was use this plugin called Arcade, right? And I haven't used this since or before this track. So I'm sure it would come in handy to some of you. It's got some really cool vocal choppy, sampley kind of stuff in there. So I used that for this one. So the whole plugin is cool because it's basically just a glorified sampler. But it's got like all these pre-built samples for different processes. So for example, if you wanted vocals, there's tons in there for vocals. If you wanted like a pop song, there's tons in there for like key pop sounds that every producer would sort of use or need. So if we play through some of these here. There was a lot of really good tonal stuff and just these kind of like nouns that were popping out really well. So I was like, you know what, let's use that as like the core thing. So basically wrote in some lines of MIDI here. Let me open this up. And then we've got the audio down here that I bounced out. So one of the big things of this song is I wanted everything to flow through the stereo field. So some things are going to be stereo and then very suddenly go mono and then come back out to stereo. And there's a lot of that going on through all of those different sounds that are happening. So bouncing into audio was a way of me kind of having everything open wide and then won't you take me home right in the middle of the mix. So if I turn all the processing on for this one, let's have a listen. Instantly just makes everything sound huge. So what I've got going on here is like just some OTT, EQ, SSQ, a little bit of de-essing on this plugin here. Kickstart, which is being automated on and off. Overdrive, we've got a washout. We've got an echo. We've got a mono control. We have 2 EQs, a reverb, and another Pro Q on the end. So really cool like chain going on there to open up some of the vocals, and that's happening all the way through. But yeah, you'll notice like throughout the entire song, there's all these little bits and pieces that come in and out of mono and stereo. So it created a really cool soundscape, and that was like the main part of this song. Is like the song's meant to be just this huge soundscape, this huge story that's like, you know, moving and flowing, and it's like it's colorful and it's bright, and you know, cerulean. It's like this fucking idea of this like beautiful blue sky, you know, whatever the fuck you want it to be. So yeah, really, really cool with that sort of stuff. So that's kind of like the main part of the vocals there. Let's take a look at the pianos, which I think are really cool as well. So I'm using three different pianos for the song, and you'll notice if you listen really carefully, you'll hear the pianos coming in and out of that stereo field, which I was talking about before. It's got like a straight note. So a stereo, and then sort of goes to that mono. And you guys are probably wondering what I use for my piano. So I use this plugin from Waves called the Grand Rhapsody Piano. In my opinion, it's the most realistic piano I've ever heard that is like affordable. You know, like if you can get much better plugins in piano than this, but those are like pretty, you know, you're looking at upwards of like $300 or $400. So this, I'm pretty sure, I don't know how much this is off the top of my head, but I know it's not that much. So yeah, get it. It's a really cool piano. So yeah, and so one of the main ways that I'm actually just controlling this mono, it's not too complex at all. I'm not automating that much. On this piano here, what am I doing now? Hang on. Yeah, so I'm not really automating that much. I'm just chucking utility on the end here and changing the stereo field, the stereo width from there. So those are all the pianos. On the group of the piano, it's important that I just chucked on a compressor just to glue everything together and have it all sounding as one. Now let's move... Fucking hell. Now let's move on to my favorite part of this song, which is the melodic content. The melodic content is like... Dude. The whole reason I had the song... Like, the whole reason the song exists was to try and do this melodic content thing. So, let's listen to the whole section on its own. And I just want to make sure everything's on. Again, I'm a fucking idiot because I've got all this random shit popped up everywhere. Alright, let's listen. You take me home. Cool. So that is the melodic stuff. It's very cool. So yeah, so with this, it had to be like a story, right? I wanted the like a really good way to how am I trying to say this? Okay, so the way that I approached this was I wanted all the leads to sound like they're a vocal. You know, like I wanted the leads to sound like they're alive and they're working and they're breathing and they're talking to you. So that's why there's always these like weird question and answers and these like A and B sections. So if you take like one of the main leads, which is this one, that's like the question, and then you have the answer, which is this one. And then it's like and then it's like arguing back to them. So I just thought that was a like interesting way to produce it and like tell a story. You know, you don't have to just use vocals. You can use the actual sounds themselves and like just mimic what they would sound like if they were vocals. You know, that could easily be someone spitting bars over that shit. But you know, so the way I was trying to build up this soundscape is, first of all, you have a bass layer. So we have just this drone sample, and that's going to fill up a lot of that sort of mid-low range of the frequency spectrum, just to have that bass there, have that body, and then all of the sparkle, sprinkly shit is on the top. So the first lead that we have is just this light synth. It just has to be constant and repelling throughout the whole thing. And you'll notice there's not an LFO going on. I'm literally just doing the MIDI of this. So you could do it with LFO, you could do it with the MIDI. With the MIDI, I had a little bit more control, so that's how I did that. And I'm using a Cerulean preset to get that sound. Then we have that backed up with this mega trance lead. Cool. So that's like giving that a little bit of support. And then we have another lead here. And this is more, this lead is like so much more powerful, and it has to be, it has to drive everything. So that's like, you could think of that as the main lead. And again, it's coming in and out. There's things that are going from stereo, things that are going to mono. But this lead was actually done in Spire, which if you are making this kind of music, like Spire is one of the most used plugins I use for all of my sounds. And it has like such good fucking sounds for leads and stuff like that. You know, like bass is like, you can do cool leads in Serum, but they don't sound like the way they do in Spire. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. What I've got going on this main lead here is a delay, a OTT. I'm doing parallel distortion with Rift. I've got 2 Pro Qs, an auto filter, and another 2 Pro Qs. I've got lots of Pro Qs on here. Let's open them all up. Heaps of random shit. So with Pro Q, like I'll just add a new Pro Q onto something. I won't like do everything in the one Pro Q. What I've got here is like this lead was just way too powerful. So I'm obviously working on those frequencies, trying to dial those in on a high level. And then I'm doing more sort of like fluffier stuff, incremental stuff with these kind of cuts and stuff here. It's mostly cutting. And then a straight cut here for any of that low frequency stuff. And then a 7K or a 9K for all that like high sparsy shit that you don't really need. Let's listen to this without all these effects. So we'll group those up. Oh shit. Yeah. Just like so much character, so much body, so much power. And then, yeah, so, but the most important part of this, guys, is like, it's not just the sounds and shit. It's the idea and the way that you approach it. You know, I wanted it to sound like it's like these synths are having an argument, like they're having a fight about something, you know? And then what's really cool is we're going from these higher sort of like crescendo leads to this low like this cool kind of like, you know, this boss guy that comes in and just stops the argument. You know, this guy's like the mediator of truth. He's the mediator of logic, the mediator of, you know, rationality. So he's coming in and being like, hey, this is how it's actually meant to be, you know, which I thought was really funny. And, you know, interestingly with this one, we have like a lot of these notes are following through the piano and stuff as well. So we've got a piano version of that. So just kind of reusing some of those elements. Now let's take a look at the bass stuff that's going on in this section specifically. So we have just a normal sine wave sub here, which I'm just using classic hip hop bass. Goated. And we have the longer bass. So this longer bass is actually done with Sylenth. I'm using FKI real bass. And this bass is so fucking powerful for this kind of stuff because it has this really beautiful glide to it. And it can also go down to pretty low notes, so real nice slide of the note there, and it goes really low, but you don't lose that many dynamics out of it. Cool. So that's like the main section of all the leads and stuff, and sort of like those pianos, those vocals. Now let's get into the bass line, which this bass line was so difficult to do and have it sound good and balanced. So I don't even know if I've got the fucking bass in here anymore. I don't. I've just got the bounce it to audio. So I had to bounce this bass to audio because I could not work with it, properly. It was not working. I needed to make more edits, more shit, and I just felt like, fuck it, I'm just going to bounce it. So let's have a listen to the bass. There's 2 bass lines. This is the first one. And even still, I'm not like necessarily happy with it. Thankfully, I have a guy who mixes and engineers all my stems and stuff. So, I had to leave the rest of the fucking chaos to him. But this was like very interesting to make because I can't even remember how I made it. I think it was just like a saw wave. And just a shit ton of processing, guys, like insane amount of processing. But the trick was, it's hard to make a bass like this because it's so quick, and it has to like complement the song, not overpower it. It's just real hard to get the tonality to come through, the distortion right. The fundamental is just like always moving and changing, so it's hard to dial in on that. A little bit easier with a bass like this. So in the second section, this bass comes in. So a lot easier to make it like that, but I needed this kind of sound because it just sounded really good. So if I'd play some of these drums right now, if I've got my kick here, and I've got the drums, listen to the bass. So, it's hard to get it to sound like that, but once you get it right, it does capture that feeling perfectly, and it works really well for what I was trying to accomplish. So there's that bass line. Here's the other thing you guys might be interested in as well, the main leads in the drop. These are fucking hectic. So again, these are made with Spire. Spire here, and I think the second one is also Spire. Yeah, Spire as well. So these are sick leads. What I wanted to do recently was like add more trance sounds into my music. I love trance. I listen to trance so much. I wish I was a trance producer fully. Like, it's just the most beautiful music. And when I really think about a lot of like my music, it is inspired by a lot of trance. Like, a lot of the melodic stuff is inspired by trance, and it's just a real, like, it captures so many feelings. It covers so many spectrums. Like, there are such beautiful vocals in all these trance songs, and like the drums are just so fucking simple but complex at the same time, and that's why I really love that genre. But I'm always trying to move like more of those sounds into what I do, because I think those sounds are so cool and could be used in so many more contexts. I don't see them used enough. Like, I don't see them used that much in like different genres. So fuck it, I'm gonna steal that shit. And so yeah, the whole song needed to feel like bouncy, upbeat, and alive. But this lead really does sell all of it. So it's pretty basic. If you just have this lead in here, the vocal, let's turn that on, the bass, the kick, and the drums, it sounds pretty cool on its own. Let's have a listen. So like it does do most of the work for you, which I thought was really funny. So all that's pretty much the baseline, the basis of how all of that works. Now, what I'll go over as well, I do have these additive leads over here. So these additive leads, what I'm trying to accomplish is more of that kind of chaotic nature, more of the argument that's happening between these sounds. And that's where I'm basically just sidestepping these synths. So if you just go to the build up. And you can hear they all kind of merge into one, but you've still got that question and you've still got that answer of where they're like moving back and forwards. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah, what else can I show you guys? Okay, so I've got this like kind of these chords that sit under the bottom. And they just like they lift the song so much. So if we listen all together in context. Very, very cool. So a lot of that works so well and just sort of meshes in together. Guys, honestly, that's pretty much it. Like, there's not too much going on. Let's have a look at the drums really quick before we head out. So with these breakdown videos, I'm trying not to go into anything too technical here. I want to keep it super surface level, just show you guys behind the scenes of these. A lot of the more technical videos that I do are going to be available on my Patreon. That's where I'm going to get into like the juices, the fundamentals of what I do, you know, like breaking everything down from like the project file, like I'm going to be breaking shit down like my project setup, my productivity hacks, going over baseline fundamental shit like how to make a bass from scratch, how to make leads from scratch, you know, understanding audio production and audio engineering from like more of a fundamental level. But also, I'm not a fucking expert at any of this shit and I never will be. That's why I love it. That's why I do it. So I'm just going to show you guys like my understanding of stuff and how I do stuff and what I like to do, which changes all the time. So the drums are all pretty much samples. Got some starting grooves happening here. And yeah, you'll see like we've got some oversampled in there. We've got some cymatics in there. Top loops. There's some samples as well. These are actually from from Noise, which is like a sample pack company that I've started and create with my mate Miles. Some real cool sounds in there for house and shit. We've got this fill going on here. Little fill. There's another fill here. I love those kind of like dry tom roll fills. Like that's my shit. I love that. It's a little vocal chop thing over here. And again, that's going from like a mixed vocal to a dry vocal, and both of those are like stereo and mono. So again, I'm going in and out of stereo and mono to give like this cool lucid effect. And then we've got... So this whole section here is where it gets like a little more complex. So yeah, a little bit of complexity in there doesn't hurt anybody. And then right before the second drop, we've got the main vocal pitch down with those like question and answer leads come in as well. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's like the whole project, really. There's also some effects stuff going on in here, like just your basic sweeps. Yeah, all of this is grouped, but it's like there's nothing really that much going on the groups. These groups are just like when I bounce stems and shit, I group them. The ones that I've done, I group them because like I go through individually and make sure they're all fucking fire. Let's have a look at the master chain. Very basic master chain. We have utility down negative 5 dB. We've got a mono stereo split, boosting the mids a little bit, and then obviously Pro L default setting up 6 dB. That's all. That's it. Plus the Pro Q gets turned off. The Pro L gets turned off before it's sent, before I send the stems anyway. So, yeah, guys, we fucking did it. I don't know how long that took me. How long did that take me? 27 minutes. Okay. 27 minutes. That's not too bad. Well, look, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this one. This is my new track called Cerulean. It's available now on every streaming platform that ever exists. It's also available on my YouTube channel. Go check it out while you're here. And yeah, if you guys are interested, sign up for the Patreon. If you're a producer, you're learning how to make music, or you've been a fan of mine and you want to see how I make music, definitely sign up. I've got sample packs in there. I've got racks. I've got fucking free downloads, IDs, tons of videos of me going over shit. So would love to see you guys there on the other side, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace and love.